What's up, Michigan fans? Welcome back to the Maize and Bluebeard podcast, where we talk all things Michigan football and basketball. Thanks for being here. We got some big news to report. Michigan has found their new defensive tackle coach. We'll talk all about him, take a deep dive into why you should be excited about this hire. We'll also recap Michigan's huge win over UCLA by a huge margin, and talk about what's coming up this week for the Maize and Blue basketball team. And I'll update you on some fun recruiting news for the football team as well. And stick around to the end of the video where I'll reveal the results to yesterday's question of the day. All that and more on this episode of the Maize and Bluebeard podcast. Let's get into it. So the news broke yesterday during the Michigan-UCLA basketball game that Michigan was hiring a new defensive tackle coach. And it was a doozy, one that I am very excited about, and that is Larry Black, the defensive line coach, and just promoted to co-defensive coordinator for the Vanderbilt Commodores under Clark Lee. I was ecstatic when I heard this news. When Michigan was looking for a coach at first after Sharon Moore was fired, I really liked Clark Lee, and I was interested in him. So I was kind of looking at him, doing a deep dive into their team and the stats. And I was really impressed with their run defense, how it's grown over the years, and their increase in sacks. Their defense as a whole has still been hovering near the bottom, but you can consistently see in the stats how good the defensive line has been. And that's even what professionals, not just me, say that it's very impressive, their rush defense and their sack production increase. And guess what? It coincides with the arrival of Larry Black. So when Michigan needed a new defensive tackle coach under Kyle Whittingham after Lou Esposito left, I was like, man, a dream hire would be Larry Black because he is freaking good. But I thought there's no way. He's advancing. He's getting more thrown on his plate. He's co-defensive coordinator now. He's going to be a defensive coordinator eventually. But here we are. Kyle Whittingham knocks it out of the park again. The talent, and I'm not even kidding you guys, you don't understand. I'll keep breaking it down in my coaching staff series videos. I just did one on Jay Hill. Check that out if you haven't yet from yesterday. But man, the talent and the experience and the potential and the swagger on this coaching staff, just in the position groups, the analysts, it's unbelievable what he has amassed here. I'm just impressed. So when I saw he was coming, stud hire, absolutely amazing. Amazing hire. I loved Lou Esposito, but this is an upgrade. He is a great recruiter, fantastic recruiter for them. And also he is just a dang good defensive line coach. He is good we'll break it all down, but let me just tell you, he's increased their run defense in a big way. You'll see, but he's also increased their sack production and helped the defensive tackles and edges get better at pass rush. Golly gee willikers, this was a good hiring. And we're going to break it down and talk about it right now. Larry Black. But let me fill you in on a little bit in case you didn't read about it or see it in the short I put out yesterday or anything like that. But like I said, Larry Black has been at Vanderbilt since 2022. He just finished up his 4th season there. And like I said, he was promoted to co-defensive coordinator. He's earned the trust, or he had earned the trust of Clark Lee. And he was on his way up because he is just, if you look at images and stuff and you read articles, like, he loves his players love him, he is loved by his players. He's a great recruiter because he can connect with kids so well, but he also gets a lot out of them. He's a great coach, and a lot of that comes from the fact that he himself is a former player. He played at Indiana. He was an Indiana Hoosier on the defensive line. He also played for the Cincinnati Bengals. So he's got some pro experience, college experience, Midwestern ties. His brother was a linebacker for Michigan, Jabril Black, back a few years back. So that was interesting because I'm like, that name sounds familiar. And then I looked it up and I'm like, oh yeah, number 55. I remember him. So a lot of ties with Michigan in the Midwest, which is going to help. And he's a great recruiter. Slam dunk there. And just, you see the pictures of him, you hear him talk. He's just got a boisterous, fun personality. I think the players are going to love him, and we're going to love him. And man, this defense, I'm getting excited. But the interesting thing is now after Lou Esposito left and Larry Black comes in, the entire defensive coaching staff is brand new. The only holdovers we have left on the staff now for the main position groups is Tony Alford at running back and Kerry Combs for special teams, who really just came in at the end of the year. So it's really just Tony Alford, which is wild, but I think it needed to be done. There was a toxicity under Sharon Moore, his teams and his coaching staff, and a lot of it needed to be weeded out. So I'm excited. This was a huge hire, and we're going to break it down right now. I'm going to show you and talk to you about the stats. I did a little deep dive so I could show you, not just me saying that they got better, but you're going to see it. Okay, so here we go. So I got my notebook and I got my tablet here, so don't mind that. But in 2021, that was the year before Larry Black arrived. Vanderbilt was dead last in everything: passing defense, rushing defense, total defense. They gave up 193 yards per game rushing, which was dead last. They only had 9 sacks, which was dead last. Just terrible all around, right? So then 2022 comes along. They increased their sacks from only 9 up to 17. And then their rushing defense, in just his first year there, they increased their sacks, and then they improved their rush defense from dead last up to 10th out of 14 teams. So they went from 14 to 10 and went from giving up 193 yards per game all the way down to 170 yards a game. I mean, that's a pretty huge leap in 1 year with him helping out on the defensive line. But it gets better from there. Then we go to 2023, and they improved their sacks even more. Their sacks continued to climb. They went up to 21 sacks after having only 17 or 9 before he came. They went up to 17, then 21. So now in 2023, after he'd been there a full year, they stayed around the same rushing. They were at 175, but the total yards and yard per average went down, and they increased their fumbles. So he's teaching them to punch that ball out. And they're still solid against the run in his second year. Now we really start to hop up, though, here, the last 2 years. 2024, they jump up 4 spots in the rankings. They're not dead last anymore. They jump up 4 spots, and they held opponents to 140 yards a game rushing. They had been at 170, and that was a good improvement over it before he came. But now they jumped to 140. It's like he's brought in guys he helped recruit. He's taught them. They're learning his fundamentals, his techniques. That takes a season or two, and they're learning it, and you're seeing it really start to show with his recruits, not with the guys that were there before. So you saw 1 year already what he was able to do with the people there, but now you're really starting to see it. And it's huge. I mean, that's a 30 yard per average increase, or decrease. And then sack-wise, they got 26 sacks. So before he came there, 9 sacks, almost 200 yards rushing, giving up per game. Now, after only being there in his 3rd season there, helping with the defensive line, they've improved all the way up to 140 yards rushing per game. And they have gone from 9 sacks to 26. That's insane. That's such good progress. Now in 2025, they really became an elite defense. And when you read breakdowns and all this stuff from experts, they'll talk about how the defense is in the lower end of the conference overall. Passing defense hasn't been great, but every year they talk about how there's always a consistent, impressive, and strong rush defense. And the sack increase goes up every year. I mean, that's telling you that the defensive line coach is getting the job done. Maybe not in the secondary, but the defensive line coach, and that's all he's coaching, he's getting it done. But in 2025, they had 31 sacks. 31 sacks! That's crazy. Oh my gosh. And their total defense had always been near the bottom, but now their total defense actually gets up to 11. And at this point, the SEC had gotten much larger, so there's 16 teams, so they got up to 11th total. And And then against the run, they're all the way up to 6th, and they only gave up 108 yards per game. Like, I know we think like, oh, 100 yards, that's not that good, but that is really good, especially when you consider where it was at before. Again, let's talk about before he came there. 9 sacks, dead last in every category, terrible against the run, giving up 200 yards a game rushing. He's there 4 seasons, and by the end of the 4th season, they are the number 6 rushing defense in the SEC, giving up only 108. He took off almost 100 yards per game rushing, and he increased their sacks from 9, where they're getting no pressure at all, to 31 sacks in 4 years with a steady progression. Guys, that is at Vanderbilt. Okay, first, Vanderbilt is not a great place. It's hard for them to get really good recruits. We all Ohio State, Michigan State fans, when we got Jesse Minter from Vanderbilt, they thought, oh, Vanderbilt, he wasn't even that good there. When you can do really good there like this, that shows how good you are as a coach. Imagine what he's going to do with these 4 and 5 star guys we have on the defensive line. Imagine what he's going to be able to do with them. Him and Powell together, that's a dream team. Great on the recruiting trail. And they both are good with the whole defensive line. They're going to work together, and this is going to be our defensive line. I'm so excited. Like, it just got better just by having him in that room working with these players. And he gets the players pumped up during games too. Like, oh. Kyle Whittingham's playing chess, baby. This is an awesome hire, guys. We're going to talk about this more as the season goes on, but I can't wait to see what Larry Black does with this defensive line, especially with the defensive tackles that he'll be focused on the most. But he'll help with edges too, because there's a reason the whole defensive line improved in sacks. And I think I was already pumped about Powell because he's a fantastic defensive line coach as well. Them two together, it's an all-star team. It's insane. Oh, what a hire. I'm excited. You should be too. I hope you enjoyed that breakdown. But get pumped. It's the defensive line is going to be rocking under Larry Black. Michigan's basketball team had a great game against UCLA. They won by a score of 86-56 by 30 points. And this just in, Saturday night, Arizona lost their second game of the season. So I think we all know who is going to be number 1 going into that big game that Michigan has against Purdue on the road. It's going to be Michigan. They're going to be number 1. Don't want to spoil that one for you. Spoiler alert, Michigan's going to be the number 1 team in the country this week, and it is well deserved. This team just has so much talent. I think sometimes us as Michigan fans, because we saw them play so flawless in that large game stretch in the beginning of the season where they're blowing people out by 50, making like no mistakes. And then they got punched in the mouth by Penn State and Wisconsin, and they had to regroup, and they did, and they won by double digits every game except the Nebraska game that they had to come back and hang on at. But you know, they make some mistakes. They can't play a perfect game. The competition is good in the Big Ten, and they're getting tested, but they're still just pulling away. They're like a boa constrictor, like the Michigan football team was in 2023 with Donovan Edwards and Corum just running and pounding, and then they just take off and you grind it out, and then you pull away at the end because the other team's exhausted. And that's what Michigan basketball does with Moritz Johnston, Yaxel Lindenborg, and Ade Mara, that their strength and size down there. It just wears teams down. And then when the threes start falling and they're sharing the ball and laughing and having fun, oh, it was just so fun to watch. The first half, they came out with good energy. Shots weren't falling, right away. So it was kind of a close game, but they got up to like a 10-point lead. And then some of the ugly warts came out. They turned the ball over a couple times in the last couple minutes of the first half. They went cold shooting. Their defense rotation was a little lazy. UCLA hit a couple shots, and all of a sudden it was a 2-point game at halftime. But then they came out on fire in the second half, super focused, high energy defense, sharing the ball, not turning it over. And then they started hitting their shots, and then they were just working it inside. They out-rebounded. They were getting out-rebounded in the first half, ended up winning the rebound game because they locked in and played tough, and they just do what they do. They're just so talented if they stick together and keep the right mindset, the sky is the limit for this team. So I think we are definitely going to be number one, and it's a huge test next week. They got Purdue on the road Tuesday night, and then next Saturday night playing Duke in the ACC Classic at a neutral site, and that's going to be one heck of a game. I cannot wait for that one. But huge week for Michigan basketball. Everybody played great across the board. Everybody played their role. This team is just so deep. Nobody scored more than 20 points. The leading scorer was 17. The bench played good. McKinney didn't even barely score. He had 2 points, but he affects the game with his defense and ball handling. Kaysen had a great game. Offensively, he had a couple turnovers, but he scored some points and played well. Cadeau only had 1 turnover and a bunch of assists. He ran the offense well. The big men all did good. Ade Mara got some revenge on his old team, so that was cool to see. He was having fun. And I'm not a big Mick Cronin fan, so it was good to see him get a little salty after. And as usual, throw his players under the bus, which that just shows us how lucky we are to have Dusty May, just a fantastic coach who doesn't really ever throw his players under the bus. They love him. I love how they come and just mess with him every game after in the post-game interview. But I just love this team, and we just got to take a deep breath, relax, and enjoy the ride. They're going to make mistakes. You know, they're still teenage kids, and they're young, and they're learning, but they're so talented. They love playing for each other and for their coach. And this is a special thing we're watching this year, and I think it's going to have a really good ending. So just enjoy the ride. Don't overthink it. A 30-point win is a 30-point win against a team that's in the NCAA tournament as of right now. So awesome win by Michigan. Fantastic. I could not be more thrilled with how they played. So I'm excited to see what happens this week against Purdue and Duke. Huge test. Can't wait. And some recruiting news for the football team, some updates on some big recruits we're looking at and working on going after. Since we talked about Larry Black, let's talk about number 2 defensive lineman prospect in the country for the 2027 class, Marcus Fakatu. Michigan made his top 10, and he has been very impressed with them, with the meetings he's had with them. They've gone and seen him a couple of times. He plans to visit in the spring, but this kid is a beast. He's 6'7", 295 pounds, probably over 300 now. And he is, as of right now, he's going to be a 5-star. He is just, it's insane. Let me tell you his stats from this past year. He's still growing, learning, and getting better. He's still got time to develop before he even comes to Michigan. But he had 69 total tackles. 17 of those were for loss, 7 sacks, and get this, 8 blocked field goals. I mean, that is an active defensive lineman. That is fantastic. So, I mean, he's already got the power, the speed, and he's got active hands. He's going to be something special. So if Michigan could grab him, oh man, that would be awesome. So keep an eye on that. He's impressed with Michigan, and I think he's planning to release his top 8 coming soon. I would be shocked if Michigan's not in that as well. And then other interesting news, Georgia wide receiver recruit Gavin Honor, who Michigan has talked to, Micah Simons has been talking to. I talked about him in former videos. He wasn't sure. He was open to listening, but he wasn't sure about leaving, uncommitting from Georgia. Well, he's uncommitted from Georgia now. He has left Georgia, so Michigan's definitely in the mix. So it'll be interesting to see. He's planning a visit in the spring as well, so it'll be interesting to see if Michigan's able to snag him. He's 5'10", 180. He's a slot receiver. He's got really great breakaway speed and has looked explosive, especially on deep balls and getting open. So he could be someone that could be really fun to develop at Michigan. Right now, his top 2 teams that he's interested in, they're going after him, although more interested are Michigan and Vanderbilt. So I wonder if good old Larry Black, even though he's on the defensive side of the ball, can help us out a little bit. We'll see. And here's a cool piece of recruiting news. Michigan is going to be hosting a top 5 recruit for the 2028 class. I know it's a youngster, it's a little far ahead, but it's still cool to mention because it is Gage Weddle. And if that last name sounds familiar, it's because his dad was All-American, great player for Utah under Kyle Whittingham, Eric Weddle. So that's pretty exciting. As of right now, Gage Weddle is the number 2 sophomore in the nation. So he plays quarterback and defensive back. So Coy Detmer has visited him, as has Jay Hill, and they've offered him at quarterback and defensive back. So pretty exciting stuff there. He is an athlete. He's fun, and his varsity high school head coach is Eric Weddle, he has a great relationship with Kyle Whittingham. So I would feel like Michigan has the leg up. This will be an interesting one to keep on over the next couple of years, but still, I saw it and I thought that was pretty cool. So that's one that I'll update you on here and there as time goes on. All right, now it's time to talk about the question of the day results from yesterday, where I asked, who is the best linebacker in Michigan history? So remember, these are not like trivia questions. I don't know specifically who the best linebacker is, but it's just interesting with all the concern about the linebacker room to think back. We have had some really good linebackers going all the way back, to the beginning of time of Michigan football. So I just picked out 3. I tried to stagger them somewhat, but I had to put my favorite, which I'll say in a minute, but I went all the way back and I put the only linebacker to win the Butkus Award, and that was Eric Anderson. He was fantastic. Watched some tape on him. I almost put Mike Mallory, who played a little bit before him. 2 great linebackers in the 80s. But I went with Eric Anderson, and then I put Jarrett Irons. Growing up, I loved Jarrett Irons, Steve Morrison. I love those guys. Jarrett Irons was a beast. And then I put Devin Bush. Loved Devin Bush. And then I put other, where you could pick anybody, because there's a lot to pick from, and we got a lot of great answers in the comments section. I mean, you had Ron Simpkins from way back in the day. You've got Larry Foote. You have David Harris. You have Jabril Peppers, was technically a linebacker. I always think of him as safety, but I probably should have put him on here. Because I love Jabril Peppers. Oh, he was so electric. I wish he could have been. I wish he could have been on the teams a little bit closer to when Michigan got really good under Harbaugh. But still, he was a fun player to watch. But the results are in, and here they are. Boom! As you can see here, the winner by a long shot, probably a little recency bias, was Devin Bush. I know we've got a good mix of fans, my age, older, younger, but I love Devin Bush. Dude played with so much heart, and who can forget all the Michigan State stuff? I mean, come on. I love Devin Bush. I really always wanted the Lions to snag him, but I loved a lot of these linebackers. Yeah, I mean, you can't go wrong with any of these 3, but like I said, growing up as a kid, man, I loved Steve Morrison and Jarrett Irons. Irons was my favorite. Dude was just a beast, just hulking dude, just running around and tearing people's heads off. He was so fun to watch, and he had such a cool name, Irons. And I think, was it on the same team as him? Was Glenn Steele, the defensive edge, at the same time, like him and Steele and Irons together? That's pretty awesome. But I love Jeremy Irons. He was my favorite. But I love Devin Bush. Loved Eric Anderson. Love so many of these awesome linebackers. And that's why it's like, man, I know somebody's going to step up and we're going to be saying, oh man, I love Staling. Oh, do you remember Owusu Boateng? He was so good. Oh man, do you remember Troy Bowles, Chase Taylor? They were so good. And all the awesome recruits that are to come. And who knows in the transfer portal in the future who Michigan will get. But linebacker is going to be, it's going to be fun. I can't wait to see who steps up and who separates from the crowd in the linebacker room. But Michigan has a history of fantastic linebackers, and hopefully someone on this roster will be the next one. Thanks for voting. Remember, I have a question of the day every day on the channel. So if you haven't voted today, make sure you head to the community tab and vote. That's going to do it for this episode of the Maize and Bluebeard podcast. Thanks for hanging out with me, taking time out of your day to talk some Michigan sports. Hope you had a good time. I will see you in the next video. And until I do, as always, have a lovely day and go Blue.